Okay.
I don't think that's on.
So let's find the budget line first. Are you talking about, you want to just go through your presentation and we'll talk about revenues and expenditures after?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
So my proposal, again, I first want to thank Beth and Randy and Mayor and everybody for working through this. Mayor's been great the last few years with kind of giving us what we need, knowing that we need it. For the budget that we put forth, we have a couple of asks, a couple of, I think more of a need than an ask. Under operational budget line 520600 for operating equipment. I'm sure you're hearing this from other agencies, vehicles. Our vehicle line last year was just shy of $160,000, and that was to outfit two new police vehicles, to purchase two new police vehicles as well as outfit those vehicles. Additionally, we added in to outfit a K-9 vehicle from our budget line, from an existing vehicle into a K-9 vehicle, a newer vehicle. Proposal for 2026 is $39,000 for that line, and that is for a need of updating our department tasers. So vehicles have been eliminated. I fear with elimination of vehicles, we have a lot of maintenance costs, higher maintenance costs if we completely remove vehicles. Just last week, we had to pull a motor from a vehicle that was pulled out of service, put it into an in-service vehicle that's only supposed to be in service for a few more months, and we're looking at keeping that vehicle in service for another year. The vehicle itself has 105,000 miles, the motor 88,000 miles, and the maintenance costs are fine. We're hoping to upfit our second K-9 vehicle this year from another vehicle, a newer vehicle that's in our fleet, to eliminate the oldest vehicle in our fleet, the 2018 Tahoe. Again, we're hoping to encumber some funds from this year's maintenance budget for that outfit, and there won't be any additional cost to that, and that won't be part of our 2026 funds. I have two proposals, two options. One would be to include one vehicle for 2026 at the cost of $58,542, and to outfit that vehicle. Total cost $76,042. The only other option we would have that we just recently explored would be a lease option for a police vehicle. Most of the unmarked cars that we have are leased vehicles. We do a 5-year lease for those. To do a 5-year lease with a new Tahoe would actually, the lease cost would be higher than the value of the vehicle with the outfit. And that's because it's a open-end equity lease. I requested a secondary quote for that for a 4-year lease, where actually the cost of that vehicle would be less, or the lease cost would be less for that vehicle. So for 2026 Tahoe, in budget year 2026, that would be an increase of $31,144, which includes the outfit for that vehicle. The subsequent 3 years would be $13,644 cost. It's not replacing two vehicles like we have, but it is at least eliminating the oldest vehicle in our fleet, which I think may not last much longer. Second item is a discussion, I know we talked about this with Beth, regarding an administrative aide or clerk's position. We lost when the former chief's confidential secretary retired. At that time, there were 2 positions in the chief's office. There was a confidential secretary as well as a clerk. When she retired, we lost that additional position. Also, during the same time frame, we had a 40-year records clerk that retired and replaced with someone with a little bit of experience, but not the experience to what a 40-year employee had. And at the same time, we removed the desk officer to put another officer out on the road, which, again, that's a positive. That's we'll give the mayor credit for that. I was in opposition to that, but certainly supported now. Some of the duties between the records, the chief's office, as well as the desk officer, those duties have been split up amongst everyone. We can handle it at times, but unfortunately at times, we do get backlogged, records gets backlogged. We're coming up on, in 2 years, another accreditation, re-accreditation, and the last time we were in this position, we had to outsource and hire outside to be able to achieve that. We're hoping not to have to do that, and I think adding a civilian position within the department would fulfill the roles and duties of all those kind of missing pieces that we have. On top of that, the letter I supplied, training's always, it's nice to increase, we did increase it a little bit for next year. We shouldn't be filling 7 vacant police officer positions next year because we only have 1 vacancy currently. So training should be a little bit less for the costs, but also we're a young department and we like to keep people trained, and we like to, unfortunately not all training is local, so we do have to send some people out for that. So an increase in that, ammunition's increasing, our tasers, which is included in our operational costs. We should be in a better position with our tasers for next year as far as cost for training, because the package that we're going to will include all of our taser cartridges for training, so that'll assist with that budget line. Those are the needs and asks. Any questions that the council has?
And right off the bat, we'll just go through the lines real quick. If not,
Could just ask the additional person that you would add, what do you think those duties of that person would be? It's gonna be records for sure?
Records to assist more with filing and clerical duties that will alleviate or take a little of the burden off Sergeant Guerrera, so she can put a little more time towards accreditation.
So you'd be hiring one person to cover everything that got lost?
Correct. And to kind of go along with that, we do hear from people from the public that they come to the police department, the doors are locked, it's 10 o'clock on a Thursday, and there's nobody there to talk to them and answer a question. A lot of times, we'll call an officer off the road if one's available. Sometimes the chief answers questions, I can answer questions. We have detectives that handle those calls, but again, that's taking away from something. Sometimes it's just a simple question that can be answered by a civilian or assisting with answering phones, and
So it wouldn't necessarily be sitting at that desk, but
no reason they couldn't be.
it couldn't be.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that, and then filing and all the other clerical
Yep,
duties.
it'll be a combination of assisting with
Okay.
records, accreditation, assisting Tracy with some of her duties as well.
all right, so we'll just go through revenues real quick. I think I have it on
Page
3 of 5 on the revenues, starting
top of the page.
in the middle, right?
It starts
Oh,
at
it's
the
a
top,
top.
3120 section.
Ready to get there yet?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay, so
Share.
Okay, share. So the first line we have, go ahead, Beck, you want to just take these, or?
yeah, I can take this. So just police fees, those are just kind of miscellaneous fees that we see coming in for various other things. Restitution, again, that varies widely depending on what people have done. Recently, it's been more for tree replacement than most anything else, apparently. Other public safety, again, periodically, we just get something from another agency or whatnot that as a refund or repayment. Just going down where there's been significant changes, the fines and forfeited bail, when we had traditionally seen that right around 140, 2024 we saw a significant drop in that. It seems like it's been picking up a little bit better again this year. I'm not sure if it'll be back up to those levels. Bail reform has really made that a little bit difficult for everybody.
The line above that, you almost doubled.
Other government,
Likewise.
that's
Public
for the,
safety, other
that's money we receive for the SROs.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. And that doubled because we now have two.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to skip that. Everything else is pretty, unchanged from previous. We are the sales minor, if we're not purchasing new vehicles, we're not selling off vehicles, so obviously that drops. And so everything else in equipment as well. We don't really have a lot of surplus equipment right now. They've done a really good job house cleaning in the last
Something to
bit.
get rid of.
Yeah, still a little bit, so we left a little bit of money in there, but, they've been doing a really good job, just in terms of cleaning up things a little bit. Insurance recoveries, we've apparently been doing a better job driving and having fewer accidents. That seems to have been dropping off, but you never know. I mean, that's in and then out again, so it's.
They are, but everybody else is doing stuff.
So, well, exactly, not quite here. So, I mean, obviously, police department is not a revenue generator, as, a general rule, but we do track what comes in through that. And just to kind of follow on what the deputy chief said about the things that were removed, all those things that he just spoke about were initially in the budget, and then when we were working through with the salary revisions, with this new, collective bargaining agreement that we're working on, it was so significant, the change in salaries, that we really had to pare back a lot, and I really do appreciate the amount of work that Chief and Deputy Chief and Tracy did with me to reflect, what the new salary lines would reflect, and then to figure out where we could work with that to pare back across the department. Those are really tough choices, and, it's a lot better, I think, when the department heads make those choices. They know how they wanna operate. I don't. I just need the numbers to balance, so, I really appreciate their input on that. So, that's kind of where we are with that. On the expenditure side,
Page 5, 16, right?
it is indeed,
Starts in
5
the-
of 16, it starts about a third of the way down, just after it says for the traffic department. So again, section 3120. And this is where you can see the shifts, if you look between 25 adopted and 26 tentative, you start with that personal services line, that's a pretty significant increase right there. That was a big driver in.
Few cars in there, too.
Under that whole initial section, anything that starts with, under the objects, anything that starts with 5.1 is personnel-related line, so that first half of that, the front page there. When you could get into the 5.2s, that gets into equipment, and then 5.4s gets more into repairs.
You see longevity is rolled into the salary, so
Yes.
so that we don't understand that.
And just to make comment on that operational equipment line I mentioned briefly, tasers. Currently, every officer is assigned a taser. A lot of those, again, administrative detectives, they go unused for most of the year until training. So that line there, that change is, we're switching to a newer version. Our tasers are obsolete, they're not functional, they're not repairable. We can't purchase them anymore, so a newer version of a taser now includes a package deal that includes all your cartridges. Every time an officer utilizes one, Axon replaces it. There is no cost.
But it's Axon, so it trips the camera too, right, when you use it?
You can. We don't have that functionality. The sync, the switch that's within the vehicle that we utilize is for the lights. When the lights come on, the cameras come on. You can have an add-on feature. Anytime the taser comes out of the holster, it activates by itself.
They're not excited about the word "ad" right now, for sure.
Our body cameras are on all the time.
Right.
How often do the tasers become obsolete? I mean, can you-
So Axon gives a taser a 5-year life. Not accurate, because we have some of ours that are 12 years old, 10 years old, still operational, still functional. I've looked at several different variations of the package to include, let's just utilize the patrol division with the newer tasers, and the rest of us keep the old ones because they still function, they still work. It's not a huge change in the price, the bundle price, if we include the same training with the same tasers for the entire department. So we've opted to purchase less of the devices and then swap them among shifts.
So we did that with the body cams.
Yep.
How is that holding up? I forgot to ask you in that meeting. How are they holding up?
We've replaced 4.
Under warranty or?
3 were under warranty,
Okay.
1 was not, and then I argued because the issue that we had with the other 3 was the same issue with the 4th, and they replaced it for us, so. Thus far, we're out of warranty, but
And how far along are we now? 2?
2.5.
2.5, wow.
And then, and so how, and the number, I'm sorry?
1.5.
Yeah, okay.
1.5. April
I'm
last year.
I feel like I'm getting older by the minute. What? Right, all right. Let's see where this is going. So, and what did we put on our life expectancy on those? Was it 5?
Again, Axon says 5 years.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So our plan, again, we talked about starting to budget for 5 a year. We pull the ones that look beat up, that look in the worst condition. We pull them out of service. We're using those in interview rooms, in the detective bureau to specifically use the ones that are more
Because
beat
remember
up,
when
more
we did that,
damaged, so we get more life
we
out.
selectively picked a quantity that was made up, because we never done.
And that's what I did for the tasers. We went with 20 body cams, we're doing 20 tasers.
And that seems to be right in.
Yep.
They're charged enough. And Cortica, will it be enough?
Cortica's enough, but it's,
Would it be team?
yeah, we make it work. If an officer comes in, if they know they're gonna be at the police department for an extended period, taking, whether they're on the desk for a prisoner or taking statements, they can dock it, it'll upload no charge and be fresh and ready.
Right.
I'd rather much spend the money on updating the tasers before they have to pull the other thing out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it
because
makes-
that's their second choice if the taser doesn't work. You won't need that, must be just cause, of course.
yeah.
Costs we're gonna have to, I would think we're gonna have to absorb.
And the police budget continues on to the next page. No real significant changes across that.
It's, the vehicles is something we really strategized with every year, and certainly did the heavy, and it's
That's-
significant and prior to. But this year, I hate to get away from that, because then you start starting it, and is that the K-9 one, this what's in here? Is that the- Or are we, that's still in there?
So the upfit for that one, we already have the vehicle, the upfit cost of that, we're hoping to use funds from this year for that, so that one will be done, either December or January. So this is the vehicle that we just had to swap the motor out a couple weeks ago to replace that.
Right.
Line 501, professional rental, what do we rent? Is it the lease on cars or?
Which,
where,
Line 501,
which page are you on?
oh, the second one,
616,
Okay.
right about middle of the page, control professional rental. And it went up.
61,000.
Those are the lease.
Those are the
vehicles.
lease.
Yeah, the lease, okay,
Yeah,
that's okay,
sorry.
thanks.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense, I mean, I know leasing the vehicle saves money initially, but then you don't have to trade in to get any
You don't,
money back, does it?
So the difference, again, the open-end equity lease was new to me, and it took a bit to kind of wrap my head around it. The upfront cost obviously is less, but the lease pricing for those vehicles is actually higher, so when the lease is over, the value of that vehicle, we get back. So we have an option to keep that vehicle, purchase it, or sell it back to Enterprise, and that price goes towards a new lease.
Right. The value.
The value
The value.
of that vehicle goes against the next
So
lease.
good intersect, conversely, this goes to DPW, but I'll forget it later. So to give you an example, the waterwork trucks, you guys have seen those, the 3/4 tons with the panel bodies on the side. That was a closed end, so that, we paid, make it up, $600, $590 something for each of the,
Roughly.
yeah, for each one of those vehicles. And then at the end of the lease, we get it back, we're done with it. So shading off toolbox and going through all that, same with the equipment, not necessarily what you wanna do. Unmarked cars, a little different, but there's still some radios in there, there's some other changes that are made, doesn't make sense a lot of times. I know the county does do it, for their vehicles, I don't know how, but I think there's a 2-year change.
2 years.
Every 2 years, it's nuts, because we spend $37,000 to $40,000 to change our vehicle, and a K-9 is more than that. But that being aside, so when we did those leases, they came up, and I think I saw some of those vehicles had 8,000 miles on them, the water department trucks with the, so we're like, we need to renew a lease and do a close-end lease so we can buy it out, or, so that, or open-end, so we can buy it out at the end, so we continue those lease for, because we'll be able to get another 3 years out of them. So I think we get a 36-month lease on those to continue to do those trucks, that we can buy them out, because, you know, they're cash, right now, cars are worth a lot, that's why they like to do those close-end lease. So that wasn't really necessarily the right way to do that, but those leases had been older than that, so we're trying to get those cleaned up. So that gives you an idea where that's at, so this is the same, so dollar buyout, basically. We own the car for $1, then we make a decision, that's what we did this time, that's why the revenues are up, we got rid of some of the older cars, and to offset that cost, to offset some of the changeover costs, and we're able to get another vehicle out of the deal. So we're one shy of doing that, and, you know, I just, it's tough, it's tight, and I think we can go back at the end and review it and try to discuss it. But, you know, some of the things we've done in the fire is review, you know, see how the budget year's going and put that on as a review item to be review at some point to do that. As far as, you know, we don't wanna burn out our staff to try to do that. We got, and I know it went through the police commission, I believe you guys talked about not being certified or, what's the word? Accredited. But that's a big detriment. Why accreditation, and Randall's squirming over there a little bit, I think. The accreditation is, if we don't have the accreditation, if somebody is looking to sue us, and because of how we handle a policy or something is done, if you're an accredited agency, typically they'll look, are they accredited? No, we're not taking that one. You know what I mean? But it's more apt to find an error if you don't do it. And once you get away from it, I know people work very hard to do it, and probably people are tired now that would wanna get rid of it, but it's not necessarily a good idea. So I think that was looked at as a review to be able to do that, but something needs to give way to be able to have some more staff at some point. Anybody else have anything else to add or questions to their budget? All right, thank you guys.
I would like to make one statement.
Sure.
We weren't here earlier, so I couldn't think. The equipment repair line, obviously that's lower. That is, I think, the mayor's idea. DPW has been doing our vehicle service for most of the year. Colby's does a fantastic job. Our costs are way down because of that, so thank you, Mike, for working with us. It's tough scheduling sometimes because they're busy, but I mean, that's been a huge savings for citywide for all departments.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, DPW, you're up.
What do you say? Not present.
Yeah.
Do you want to go, are you gonna just go through the lines, or do you have something, or?
I mean, I could just basically.
Overviews first, and then we're gonna go through each one?
Say that again?
You wanna go through overviews first, and then we'll go through each one? Wanna do it that way?
Sure.
Okay, all right.
So overviews from, expand on that idea, overviews from,
Just overviews on your department as a
Okay.
whole, and just.
So- not much financially is changing for the department this year, from last year. But what we've done is we started to break out, the labor cost between, different departments. So before, all labor for the DPW was covered under, the street budget, which is a 5110. We're now changing that to be covered under 5110, which is streets, 5142, which is snow, refuse. So we're trying to divide the guys' time out to be able to track where they're spending actual time. So that you'll see that biggest change in the personal services line, simply for better tracking and budgeting reasons as we go to start to build a track record of where the time is spent, and where the guys are really putting their efforts. It comes with a little bit of change internally. The guys are starting to track that differently for themselves, which has been well received, actually. Other than the initial filling out the timesheets, it's been great. CHIPS money has gone up a little bit, but again, that's a value that we will expend and receive back from federal funding. So even though it's in the budget and it's changed, it won't impact the budget bottom line at the end of it. I think those are the only major changes. We've seen a slight increase in salt. The cost of salt has just gone up. So we've included that in the increase there, under 851.22. So in reality, cost is the same. We have lost our account clerk at the DPW, so we're deciding what that looks like going forward. And we're trying to build some efficiencies in the system internally. So right now, that cost is being carried to bring somebody on board. But as we go forward and we look at that, we'll see whether that is a seat that needs to be filled permanently, or if there's, again, another efficiency in the process.
Mike, are you fully staffed now?
We are close. We need 2 more people. We need an HEO for sewer, so a heavy equipment operator for sewer. We lost Jeff Sanford last year, he went to the county, so I'd like to bring another one of those on board. And we're short probably another motor equipment operator, but we're pretty close. We've decided this year to create 2 different shifts for snow plowing, which is really what drives our need for CDL drivers. So we're running 2 different shifts this winter, and we found by doing that, dividing the team out into 2 shifts, we've got a pretty good coverage. We just like to have a couple extra for time off, I guess, to be able to breathe a little bit, so.
And I think I said this last winter, the plowing on Tompkins Street was so much better. I mean, the speed at which the plows went, so it didn't just throw everything, it was so much better.
Yeah, and that's a testament really to the crew, right? The crew is, you see them evolving in front of you as they're becoming a group that cares about the city more and more every day. We're seeing that internally, and I'm happy that it's coming out from the city standpoint.
And just also, in light of your question, we did budget for those 2 bodies so that they can be hired during the year, they're accounted for.
Okay, good.
Mike certainly has made the morale down there a lot better than I've seen in the past. I don't hear, any, negative stuff like we used to do.
Yeah, they're certainly creating, I like to term it internally as a family, right? They're certainly on each other and depending on each other. So that's what you like to see.
Well, it is a small organization, or a small group of guys, it really should be family.
They spend more time with them than they do at home.
Right, yeah.
So budget-wise, really, those are the only
You're not sharing them.
small changes,
Lost.
really. So just to give you, I heard that.
Where's revenue? What page,
So,
revenue?
just to give you an insight as to where you'll see a big change in numbers, is if you look at A5110,
What page?
What sheet you on?
He's on expenditures.
10 of 16.
Yeah.
yeah, expenditure, yeah, expenditure.
Yeah. Just need to write them down.
So that,
Actually, 11 of 16,
Sorry.
sorry. 5110, not 50.
yeah.
5110.
That's-
No, 5 zeros are
So you'll see, last year's budget was just over 900,000, and that was covering all of DPW labor. You'll see this year it's 297. And it's not because of cutting labor, it's because we're dividing that out into 4 different accounts. Again, we share costs from a yard refuse standpoint with other municipalities. This helps us create and define that cost at a better level.
I'm sorry, what page you on?
11 of 16.
top line.
A5110.
Oh, okay.
Personal services is where all the labor time gets tracked. Sorry, I look at these numbers every day, so it's like,
Yeah.
it's easy to just buzz through my head.
So you guys shell gamed everything and moved it around, I don't know where it is.
So what we did is, it was,
Plans work.
we took, yes,
Not yet.
It doesn't work. So we took a portion, what I did is I built a spreadsheet, literally by name of each of the guys and all the different areas where they would work. And I asked Mike to sit down and put percentages in terms of what percentage of their time do they spend in each one of these areas, whether it's road work, whether it's snow plowing, leaf and brush, street cleaning, storm sewers. And then we broke that all out by percentages, and based on those percentages and their actual salaries, I allocated them across those various portions of this budget. So when you look at that top personnel services line in each one of those areas, that's how we came with those numbers, so.
So on that same sheet, you'll see, if you go towards the bottom, 5142, you'll see this year has 171,000 in it, and last year had none.
Right, so that goes towards,
It's simply just taking money from that initial labor line and putting it somewhere else.
So with that being said, if you were to combine all of these that were separated out, what's the difference between last year's adopted versus this year?
roughly 2%. That's all I had factored into initial personnel services lines, because we have not yet done anything with that contract, and we don't know where it's gonna land. I know it won't be less than that,
Okay,
so,
Guarantees not gonna be more, right?
well, I can't guarantee that, so that's one of the discussions that as we're working with the collective bargaining agreement on this, there may need to be adjustments made as we go forward, but we needed a starting point to actually get it on the table, so.
I know, just so that.
Yeah, I live in hope, but I'm a realist, unfortunately.
I'm not,
Recognize, as Mike brought up before, we lost Jeff Sanford, we're trying to get him back, but, he was great, but, you know, to the county, and they made it significant, and that's what we're chasing, police, and as well.
Working though, we picked up a good note, one to fill his shoes. Steve Romer's done a great job filling those shoes a little bit. He knows the city pretty well. We're getting good guys on board that are filling shoes that wanna be here, so it's good. And again, you know, we've got a storm sewer, how with that, revenue, Beth?
Okay, yeah, so there is, I was gonna speak to that on mine, but I can
Okay.
easily do that. Do you want to talk about it now?
I'll just lead into that as you get into yours. We're just,
Okay.
again, part of why we divide this time out is because there is, money allocated for these individual accounts, so we can start to track that at a higher level. Beth will go into why that is, from a revenue standpoint.
And as we know, the flooding in some of the areas, in the wards specifically, Billy and Tom's area, there's a couple of projects that we're working on them. We can track these projects and put them in as capital projects and be better at isolating and deciding which ones come first.
Mike, so that mitigation problem on Neiman Park, that's coming this spring, you're saying it's on schedule, right?
That's correct.
Neiman Park,
We've got a plan, set up on how to handle that.
okay.
Just hadn't gotten to it this fall, but it is slated to go. There's gonna be two structures that go in, one at the low point, where the biggest problem is, and then we're gonna put one upstream a little bit, so to speak upstream. We're gonna connect that with a drainage pipe in the two structures, so it'll treat itself as drywall. It'll hold that water so it can perk down into the ground, because it's, rather than dig a line all the way over to Yemen, there's future plans to try to lead that to the river, but it'll resolve the issue temporarily, and we can build a bigger system.
better stay in that ward, just send it down to mine in town, we know that.
We did an improvement in your ward last year.
So temporarily, it's just the big dry walls in there, bigger ones, and then in the future, another connection to the Neiman Park, right?
So the plan eventually is to try to get that right to the river.
Okay.
So it won't lead to Yemen, it'll almost lead through some of the empty lots, but that's a bigger thing.
I know whose lot
I think it's one up right through here.
That's
Yeah.
domain.
that is.
I think it's one up, actually, I think it's one up.
Is it one?
There's one up that lines up perfectly with the structures,
Yeah.
and then comes across, and then, Barenfeld owns an empty lot,
Yeah.
that one, going across that.
Okay.
So we're just, and then the same with the detention pond over on Kellogg, just trying to get the nursing home to agree to that.
can't we take that by eminent domain, and it's a need?
Usually a route of last resort.
I think we'll get them, but it's just a difficult agency to work with, because they're not local, we want local people, what I mean? It's a big bureaucracy, what I mean?
And I'd rather give them the long-term maintenance if we can give them the short-term resolution. I'd rather not carry that.
Them mowing around it and
Right.
dealing with them around it is better.
Right, that parking lot they'll never use, that's it anyway.
But maintain, I just wanna say, and maintaining the storm structures, these areas it was better, we had a couple days, I was over there, and same with yours, Tom, we really, that was pretty well managed by them. We had probably one really heavy storm that was a problem over there, but it wasn't as bad as it's been in the past. So I appreciate maintaining those structures is priority one. And
Yeah.
that's where some of this money's going, to that value.
I just don't wanna lose sight of it, you know, with this close now.
Agreed. It's definitely on our radar, to resolve. You know, for me, a big topic is stormwater management. It's staying ahead of that because it is the part that
That's what
affects
destroys the roads.
everybody.
That's what destroys the roads.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, that's it. You guys are, I don't know if anybody else have any more questions, you're free to go. You don't have to stick around and for a long day, I'm sure. We appreciate you guys coming in.
Chief asked you to help move the table.
Because he delegated to the other chief. right?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to?
All right, so I'll move this out.
All right, I'll just start on the very front page, the front sheet, start of revenue. 1325 is the finance section, so that's almost the entire front page. And actually on to the next page too, because we deal with a lot of the revenue in our department. So I was just gonna start, obviously everybody knows real property taxes, what goes into that. The next line down, that is the special assessment. That is actually, supposed to be our storm sewer maintenance, revenue line. The first one of 5, revenue. Got it? Awesome. You'll notice that increased significantly this year. That had not traditionally been tied to actual expenditures lines, and this year we did that. So what we did is we took the total of storm sewers, the total of street cleaning, which is directly related to the storm sewers, and half of the leaf and brush, which is also directly related to how we manage our stormwater. Those amounts from the expenditure side then were totaled and put in as that special assessment. So that's its own line on everybody's tax bill, but that will directly fund our ability to maintain and expand on our storm sewers to ensure that we can take care of the increasing water issues we're seeing throughout the city. It'll give us the ability to be proactive and get in front of that. Storm sewer rates are currently based on frontage, and that's part of the tax bill. One of the things, as I keep lauding this wonderful new software we're getting from this Canadian company, in addition to water and sewer rates, it will also help us work on better storm water management rates, and we can look at it in terms of impervious surface per parcel rather than just frontage. Because right now, when it's based on frontage, that's a good starting point, but so every person who's a corner lot in the city kind of gets the double whammy on that, and that's not necessarily equitable. So this is something we're gonna be looking at, how do we do this in a way that makes the most sense, and it works for everybody. So we'll be continuing with that. The next line down, proceeds of tax sale. We are planning to do a tax sale this year. We've been working with Phillips Lytle on that, and that number is based on where we are currently. As people have been paying things off, that number goes down because they've paid it off, which is great. We're very happy to have people pay things off, so that is accurate as of the current. I'm just gonna kind of hop down periodically. Most things haven't really changed. It's just based on what we've been seeing and trying to make those revenues as accurate as possible. Obviously, the pilots we have. Occupancy tax, if you go down to 41113, that we have it at just over 250,000. We are fully implemented right now with all of our occupancy tax at 1%. It was kind of stepped in across the course of this year to get everybody first registered and then start paying, and then get the short-term rentals registered and start paying. And so now we'll be stepping that up to the 3%, and this 3% number is based on what we saw from the initial 1% number. So that's how that was calculated. The cannabis tax is a new tax.
So I just want to clarify that vote will have to come here, because that resolution was 1%, even though some wanted it to be 3
Yes, I
at
did.
the time, but 2 or 2, somewhere in between, but we see what the net in for that, and we'll be able to use
Right.
that, utilize that for artwork and some of the other, these are constant improvements that we would like to keep doing in our city.
And to what the mayor's saying, everything I have here is based on rates that are going to come before council prior to the final vote on the budget to set all the rates. That's how I've done my math, but those rates need to be approved before this math is valid. And the original law was up to 3% on occupancy tax, this is pushing it all the way up to the 3. If you don't wanna do that, that's fine, but then I'll need to adjust accordingly, so. The cannabis tax, because that's a new tax, that was based on a conversation that the mayor was able to have with some regulatory agencies. That is very much a guess. I hope it's reasonably accurate. Actually, truly, I hope I'm under on that, and I hope we get more in, but I don't truly know. So that's a starting point. No, go ahead.
We only have, excuse me, one person in the city now.
That's correct, and I was able to obtain what their sales were.
Well, no, that's a huge number for
Yeah.
one establishment.
It's doing really well.
Okay.
It's better than I won't go, but.
It is the only one, there is only one, the lake house is the only one.
Yes, I thought. So then that's a huge number for one business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're doing a very good job.
It's nice. You guys have any problem?
I guess.
I wouldn't think so. Lose your license.
Yeah, so, the next line after that, the non-property tax distribution by county, that is our sales tax. That number is based on the new sales tax agreement that was passed. Going down, skipping down a couple, those are pretty standard. The where it says, 41289, other general government income, that is the Parker School lease amount for next year, so that's what that is going in there.
Just real quick, Beth, the HSBC lot, we lease that?
We do.
We leased that to the bank for, and that's not really changed.
Yep, the DHD solar field land lease, that begins this year, so that number is based on the lease that starts partway into this next year. That'll be increasing year on year, according to the agreement that's been signed with them. Nothing else changed dramatically.
So just for some of them, the Friendship House and some of these other ones at CNY Realty, those are pilots, payment in lieu of taxes. So they're negotiated deals that the IDA BDC does with the railroad and some of the other ones for the lease of their land. And that, we also have a pilot with the solar field that's our property, but they're also paying taxes, so that was a.
What do we have, 4 out there?
What?
The Friendship House?
They're listed up above.
Yeah, I mean, some of them has closed out,
Some
so
of them
you
are
see
done.
Cuda Press are around the years now, but they're still, I don't know how we clean them up, but they're still in the system, but, you know, some of them are still on there. That are there, but there's only, yeah, it's depleted down to
We'll
4.
jump down on it.
I think it depleted to 4 now, yes.
Okay, and if you wanna continue on to the next page, the very top line, the state aid per capita. We had actually gotten an increase in that last year, but it was after the budget had passed, so we will get, more than we had adopted in 25 for that. And so I took that new amount and used that for 26. I don't expect that to change, but
I hope
it
it
is.
goes up.
I hope, I know, but given the state's track record on increasing those, I'm thinking it's pretty likely to stay the same, so live and hope. Mortgage tax, we've been coming in pretty well on that this year. We did increase slightly our transfers from water and sewer. We had readjusted, what we're trying to do is better allocate things across funds so that they're more accurate, so that's why those are up a little bit, and there were some things that we had this lower, but we were charging, some of the healthcare into that fund. It's cleaner and makes more sense to charge the healthcare into the general fund, but then have them transfer a little bit more to balance that. So eventually I'd like to do really deep dive into that and allocate it a lot more minutely, but I'm not there yet. So this is a reasonable way of doing it, but I'd like to continue to work towards anytime we can get a finer bead on things, I'd like to do that. So that's pretty much everything for overall finance revenues. And then if we wanna go to expenditures, we'll flip a couple of pages, and finance starts on page 1 of 16 of the general fund expenses.
What page we on?
1 of 16
One
on
of
expenses.
16 on expense.
Sorry. And it's the bottom third of that front page.
This is general fund. Yeah.
I'll give you some.
Oh, you got it.
Okay. So initially, just the personal services, that's, just assuming a 2% increase across the staff for that. The contractual professional expenses, you'll see there, that's, budgeted at 105, based on what we've been seeing with our auditors, that seems more accurate than the 75 we had adopted last year. I'm hoping that it's actually a little less than that, but it's hard to tell from sometimes. The munis account / payroll, that is down a little bit. That's because last year in '25, we actually paid for the initial tax software conversion. That was a one-time fee, so now that we're, going to be on the maintenance of that as we get it up and running, that allowed us to drop that line a little bit. That line covers our software for our general ledger, our tax software, and then our resident access, which is what allows people to go ahead and pay, various things online through the website. So that's,
Still on 116.
That's, we still on 1 of 16.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Finance expenses, there aren't very much, it's just the people mostly. We don't do much other than what we do on a daily basis on the computers. So the next page really just has the FICA med for the finance department. So that pretty much wraps up, finance. If anybody has any questions on that portion of the budget. And I'll cover the next, several of them as well. I've got law, common council, and office of the mayor. So those really, I mean, finance really covers all the revenues for all of these administrative departments. So if you go to the top of that page for common council, you'll see it looks remarkably the same, as last year. I did slightly back off on professional services because those haven't really been needed. We haven't needed to use that. So there was a slight decrease overall for common council, but just because everything was status quo. For the mayor's office, you'll see that that's a very minimal increase, and that's mainly due to a slight increase in payroll, same staff in the mayor's office as we've had.
You may want to put out, I'm going to start charging for cookies and cupcakes.
That's in the common council budget.
Yeah,
Right,
the
that's the
common
common
council
council, it's not
lines.
yours, it's the common council, okay.
We didn't order them, but we'll take them.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy, Troy,
I don't think
easy.
anyone's turning them down.
Yeah, you don't want to push it.
So
Just
those,
need to show
that
up.
covers, just common council and the mayor, and then we'll flip 2 more pages. At the top of 3 of 16 is actually the law department. Again, that's mainly personal services related, that for Randall's salary. I did keep a little bit of contractual professional services in there, just in case we need to hire outside counsel for anything specific to the city. That's more of a contingency than an actual expected expense, but it's wise to keep that in there. So that's really all we've got in his
So
section
we're
as
on
well.
to, Randall's salaries now off of his agreement, correct?
This year it will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's in there.
Plus the
Okay.
management plan
Yeah.
is 2%.
Correct.
increase for.
I just think we should have caught up, or not caught up, I mean.
Where
You know where
we
I'm-
said he would get.
Right.
Yes, yes,
That we're not,
correct.
you know, all of a sudden, another $10,000, that's all.
Right.
I thought we were close.
And what you don't see, because I only go back to 2023, but this is still well below, what the law department was costing, say, in 2021 and previously. It was significantly higher, but I believe they were using a lot more outside counsel
There was
at
a
that
lot of
point.
stuff.
So the fact that we've been able to bring a lot more in-house with Randall's expertise is actually saving the city considerably. So that's a good thing. And that pretty much wraps up what I had for those departments. They're all just a little short and sweet. And did anybody have any additional questions? I did copy the entire council. I had some questions come in from a constituent. I don't know which board. It was Amanda X today. She had tried, we missed each other phone call, and I had asked her to just send me an email with her questions. I thought they were very thoughtful questions. I answered those all, and then I copied the common council in case anybody wanted to see those, or if you had any constituents who had similar questions, you'd have those answers where they were accessible to you.
So on that, I'll spin off that, so on our website is frequently asked questions. There's graphs on there, there's answers, questions, and all the questions that have come up in our previous meeting, outside sources, and that, I forwarded that to the webpage too.
Okay, perfect.
So those questions will be on the webpage as well. So again, if you get questions from your constituency, then please you know, have them formulate them in a question and send them, and we'll answer them directly, and also put them up for everybody else, so they can be able to see, answer those same questions that might be there, just be beneficial, because, you know, they're all reasonable, so. So again, I encourage you, if anybody does reach out to you, get it in writing somehow, you do it, napkin is fine, as long as Beth can read it, she'll answer it, we can do that. So I just want to take a little bit of time here, I know, you know, I think that was it, right, for
Yes.
everything, I think we went through everything. If
We
anybody
covered
has,
everything.
anybody has any questions on anything, or anything that's been presented, we'll have to, you know, really, give some whole thought here. I think everybody was, holding the same with the exception of the police department, would like to add those two items. I, you know, as always, we don't wanna let those things go by, but I think we should really evaluate where we're at. You know, I know, I just got an email just before I came up here, I know our Fitch rating is coming out, and, it's not good,
It's
For
only
what
for one
rating?
loan, though, that's only for the Withia.
understood, but,
Okay.
so we'll be downgraded for that, on those ratings, I don't know if you saw that email.
I did, I had been on the phone with her earlier, but it matches now what the previous downgrade was, because this agency lags the other
Right.
two, so it now matches what the other two
So-
had already done.
What was the downgrade?
So, just so I could, just do a general overview so you guys understand. So how we, when we go to borrow money, we have a bond rating, so they have a rating of what we're available to. A is good, F is no good. I don't think it goes down that low, but, just like school, so, so you go from A, double A, and then you go down to triple Bs, and so that format. So, because we have been spending our fund balance, and correct me anywhere I'm making a mistake, because I don't wanna be accused of that. Anytime, so because we have used our cash to cover these big projects that we've been spending, to get that covered over into, so we don't spend it all on a band money,
Interest-wise.
interest-wise. So some of the bands that we had done, previously done, were costing us $1 million a year in interest that we had. Now, if we had done a bond, and let's make it, so we said, Clinton Ave, we did a bond for Clinton Ave and closed that out, you know, every time you make any kinds of changes, you pay a heavy fee in lawyer fees and bond closeouts. So, but in the end, if you close that out, but the determination was made to continue a band, which is a bond anticipation note, anticipating you're gonna bond for it, and then you can pay off as much debt as you can, because we're receiving grants in, so we can pay those bands off. So whether this is a good decision or not, I still think it is, because we're doing it, rather than expend a lot of money on interest on band money, to spend our cash would be a good idea. It becomes very difficult and gray hairs for the people that are managing it on a daily basis, so we gotta try to figure out short-term cash flow between now and the end of the year, technically, till our taxes come in next year. So those are our struggles that we have that are real, okay? So I just wanna make sure that that's understood, so when that comes out, it's not a surprise to anybody here, but basically, there's Moody's and Fitch. And there's two different agencies, so let's make us govern that, because they have different opinions based on different things, and say, I get what they're doing, I get it, but still, they're burning their cash, I gotta drop them. So Moody's dropped us last year to triple B, I think it is, right? And then Fitch was staying behind it, a negative, I'm gonna get that wrong, but then they're dropped down, so they're the same, so. And again, it talks about the cash flow in there, it talks about, you know, the continued years of impact. They're going back on years audits from our 2020 audit, 2021 audit, had to go back and re-audit that. So again, I'm not casting dispersions, not casting blame, I'm not trying to do anything but just state the facts and say, you know, we're in a cash flow crisis, we're in a financial crisis, and that's why we're trying to make some of these adjustments we have. Speaking of which is some of the insurance end of it. So there's a big, and I'm just gonna segue into that unless somebody has any questions on the bond stuff. But we're gonna segue into the insurance aspect of it. So just to not complicate it, we have the retirees and we have the actives, okay? And we have the classic blue plan, which is a very rich plan, and there's three left, three people that carry that blue plan in the consortium as of now. Blue Cross Blue Shield doesn't offer it to anybody else and hasn't for several, you know, for I think almost 2 decades now. They've stopped offering that plan. But if you have it, they kind of let you keep going. But they keep threatening to do it, get rid of it. So instead of getting rid of it, what they've done over the years are increase the price. They said if they really want it, they can pay more. So Randall and Beth did some heavy analysis and to look at a plan to say, you know, what really is in that plan that is so rich that couldn't cover, that wouldn't be covered by another plan that's currently in their plan, so the metal plan. So they have bronze, platinum, and silver, am I right? So, and in those metal plans, that they call the metal plans because they're all metals, right? So they call the metal plans in Blue Cross Blue Shield. They like to stay, they're in avenues. So anybody who's receiving those calls and are disputing claims, they're all within those claims. It's really easy. You divide it by 3. You start getting outside of those plans, the Blue Cross Blue Shield likes to get away from having those exterior plans that are all different. Used to be you could plug in, play, make your own kind of thing. Well, the blues, you know, the blue plan is something that's going to become obsolete, and they just keep increasing the cost, and as we see the effect of it. So Beth has done an analysis, which you've all seen in the budget report, where by taking everybody from the blues and moving them to a bronze metal plan, which is a high deductible plan, so there's a high deductible. But if we offer to pay that deductible, they're still getting all the same coverage that they would have in the blue plan. Everything's being covered, but that high deductible. Some concerns are, because insurance is always, you know, a risk, right? And some people's concerns are, is everything in that blue plan, so that you might not think of something, I don't make it up, you know, a crooked little toe. Maybe a crooked little toe is in the blue plan, and it's not written in that level of detail, and when you go to get it done on the bronze, it's not covered, you know? So that's always been somebody's concern. So to get over that, and to try to get some kind of hurdle, both with the retirees and the management, you know, look for a resolution from the council to hold everybody harmless. So I would like to say that we would, I think with the research that's been done and with what's been done is just hold them harmless, so that our contracts all say, for the retirees and everybody else, equal to or better than. And if you hold them harmless, to do that would be the plan to that. As far, so that's kind of, so everybody now has a choice of blue or platinum? Correct. Okay, I'm doing pretty good. And blue and platinum, and they're, you know, so the platinum would go away, the blue would go away, and everybody would go to the bronze. They would all be giving so their maximum payout, $7,000, let's say, they would give in a card with $7,000 on it to be their maximum payout. Okay, at the end of the year, they don't use that $7,000 because they didn't need it. That's a windfall for us. So that's how we can cover it.
That's the HRA card.
That's it,
Correct.
HRA, that's correct.
And we would fund the HRA for the max of both in-network and out-of-network, because they don't run in parallel. It's not like you can kind of add, like, there's an in-network max and an out-of-network max. We would cover both.
Okay.
Okay, but there's actually 3 groups, because you've got the actives,
Correct.
then you've got people who retired but are not 65 yet.
Correct.
And then you have over 65.
Right, so everybody who is not yet 65, whether active or retired, would all go to the bronze with a fully funded, both in and out of network HRA card. So they would actually pay significantly less out of pocket than they do now, because they have those HRA cards for any copay, any drug copays, office copays, any of that they currently, whether they're on Classic Blue or whether they're on Platinum, they pay a copay. So if I go to my dermatologist, say, I know I have a $25 copay this year on the Platinum plan, I happen to choose that one. I know that next year on the Bronze plan, I would go to my same dermatologist, because it is the same network, because it is still Excelis, it is still the same drug formulary. I would take my HRA card, I would hand them here's my Bronze card for my actual thing that they scan at the beginning of the year, and then every time I go, instead of $25 off my Visa, it'd be $25 off my HRA. So, I would actually pay significantly less out of pocket for every visit I make, or any drugs I do. That sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah, really.
Any drugs that I need to get at the pharmacy, all that would be covered, right, through that HRA card.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I know, sorry,
And then,
it's been a long week.
once you,
And once you
deplete
hit
your
that
card,
max,
your
so
card's
say
gone.
something happens and I end up in hospital and I use the entire max,
Right.
then once you hit that max,
The
the
insurance
insurance
kicks
takes
in.
it over entirely and you pay 0. So this way, our employees, in addition to the fact that their percentage of the cost every month out of their paycheck will be lower, they will also have no out-of-pocket costs to have the same coverage. I know the thing that makes everybody nervous is they think it's too good to be true. But what we're seeing from our loss runs for the city is that we are actually carrying other members of the consortium. We are paying in way more than what we are actually using. This way, we will be paying for what our personnel need to use, and anything that they don't use on that HRA card will roll back to the city at the end rather than supporting other municipalities. So this way, that is what makes this such a good deal for the city.
And to elaborate on that point, is we're paying for others, they're paying for this blue plan, and then now we go back to the retirees, right? So we have the retirees that are over 65 and the ones that are under. They're having the blue, under, they're having the Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're paying a higher fee. And so the consortium's getting that, and they're not utilizing all that because Medicare and Medicaid's kicking in for the ones over 65. So they're paying 90% or 95% of what they have beyond it. So this is not a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, when we tried to introduce, I gotta get these two names, this is hyper important, you gotta help me. Supplemental.
This is a
This is
supplemental.
supplemental, not an advantage.
Not
plan.
Correct. This is a
So,
supplemental,
the
it is
same
not an
retirees that, we have met with some of the retirees, the same retirees that we had before that were advocating against it, recognize the difference between the two, the supplemental and what that is. And again, to have that assurity that there would be no difference in that, because we've always said that. We don't want anybody to go without. We have looked at that, but now they're looking at it, there's a substantial savings that they would be able to obtain by doing this, by making this plan. For example, on the blues, the medicine or the pills that Beth's taking are 10, 25, and 40. You know, now there's two-tier plans I want to talk to you about. Billy, this is new to you guys as well. There's a tier 1 plan of this supplemental that does 0, 5, and 20. And then there's another supplemental plan that is 0, 1, and 1. So you're paying $1 for your prescription, 0 or $1.
That's on the 65 and older plan.
That's a 65 and older plan, but that's an additional 30, what's that?
Not here yet, no.
Yeah, but 3763, but let me just finish now. So 3763 more than the one plan. So let me just give you an example. And I have my filters, so let me give you those numbers. So currently, right now, if somebody has, and we'll just do an individual, probably be easier, right? Individual blue plan, they're paying $1,641 and change a month. In the bronze, an individual would pay $618, okay? And that's what it's costing us. I don't mean they're paying that. That's what it's costing us as a whole. They're paying 9%. I think there's some 13. We're now at 20, some of them, right? So this is what the plan costs. So just trying to get an idea. And then in this plan, it's, there's two different, tier 1, the one is 546 and the other one's 583. The 583 is the 4 plan, which covers the 0, 1, and 1, so you're paying $1 or nothing or $1 for prescriptions. It includes dental up to $500 and includes vision up to $300. So, you know, so realistically, they're paying for an additional $3.39 a month at 9%. They're going to get dental and vision for the year, which is a pretty good deal. So to me, for an individual to spend $1,641 when they can pay $583, you know, we're talking $1,000, $1,100 less for the same everything that they're getting right now, plus dental and the vision, which they do not get now.
Just so you know, vision, I mean, I have vision insurance through school. $300 is gonna get you squirty bottle, like cleaning things for your glasses. I mean, I don't know how much you pay for your glasses, but I mean, they're,
$500
Over
every one
$1,000.
there.
Yeah.
so, I mean, $300, it's nice.
But
you
it's
know,
nothing that, right now they get nothing.
I'll give you a hint. Get your prescription, go to Costco, they're $150.
Really.
Yeah, but,
You
so, but
also-
they're getting nothing now.
Right, they also have the benefit with Division that they're getting the negotiated rate for services that Blue Cross Blue Shield negotiates versus where if you go in now, you pay the retail rate.
And you
So-
have.
So they get the benefit of having a negotiated rate, which helps too.
No, it's just.
So what about, so I'm gonna be in the same, this situation where I'm gonna turn 65, and my wife is younger than I am.
Yep.
She's gonna be on the bronze plan.
Yep,
2 premiums?
no, you would just stay on that at that point. Because we have to pay for a family plan anyway, because that's.
Two different, I'm on the bronze.
Do you have, at that point, will you have any other dependents?
Your daughter will
No.
still be on, won't she?
Will she be over,
Oh.
she'll be over?
Oh, then she would just go to one individual.
Then you would, yes, you would have there'll be two separate plans
Yeah,
until your wife turns 65.
which is cheaper than the family plan,
Right.
anyway, so.
So you'll
You'll still be
realize the
money ahead.
cost savings from the bronze when you move, when the first person moves, and another cost savings when the second person moves.
Correct.
How are we gonna memorialize this so that we're all protected? That, we talked about this the other day during our meeting. That's-
Again, by resolution by this council.
But a resolution can also be changed by a council coming in 10 yeyears, 20 years from now.
I agree. And the insurance could change too, so yes.
So, I mean,
Insurance is way out of hand.
Right. But again,
Could be brought up every year.
Nothing's gonna be guaranteed for life.
yeah,
You do have the protection
equal to or better than.
of equal to or better than what
So
you
Correct.
retired.
they can't. So that if,
And I don't
and then,
think
but again, I say, let's go to that argument, because I think it's an important argument. My point is, if I was sitting in your shoes and, you know, was thinking that same thing, if they're saying equal to or better than, we just made it better.
Yeah.
Right? So they have to make it equal to or better than what this is.
Right.
This is better, yeah.
Because as soon as the first person retires under the new contracts, under this, now that new bar of equal to or better is set there.
Set.
So they're raising your bar.
Right,
So that would be my argument, so I would say that's ultimately your carrot, but to dangle to have
I mean,
that.
we're talking about this now, but the 150 retirees, we gotta sell this to, okay? It's not just me.
Understood,
That's the
and
biggest
I think there's been some, you know, good dialogue ahead of time, so that's where we'll lead next, so we're planning on scheduling, I don't know, Jade left, do you know the answer to those dates?
She's come.
We don't have the dates yet. We're hopeful that we'll have dates in the next day or two, and a letter will go out this week. Everybody let
Because
us
we're
know.
hoping the Elks, Dan, we're hoping to be able to score the Elks on a couple of evenings, to be able to do a meeting there, to educate people and pay for some coffee and tea
To
and
get this
cider and
prepared.
that.
yes. So, and that's exactly the example. So this last year, we voluntarily offered to retirees who were over 65 who wanted to change to what the consortium offered, which was the MS3 plan, which was a Medicaid or supplemental. That's very similar to the plan that we're looking at now. Actually, the plan we're looking at now is even better than that. And he was resistant initially and went to the meetings and then switched. And if you want to talk to somebody, talk to Kim Fairchild. He sings the praises of how amazing this was, despite the fact that the first year he was using it, he was dealing with cancer. So he said that openly, and he said anybody can contact him.
He said he would come and talk, so we can bring him to our next
Yeah,
meeting.
and he has had an excellent experience with that. And so, and we did send out a survey to everyone who had made that switch. All of our retirees, there were about 24 of them. And every single person who switched had a positive experience. There was no one who said they regretted it.
There was one that said they had difficulty because they had the wrong card when they went, but that was the only complaint.
Yeah, they forgot,
All
took
of
their
them
last
responded.
year's card initially, and we reprinted them a new one, and they were fine. So,
Yeah.
that was the only hiccup we saw, and it was purely an administrative thing where they grabbed the wrong card. So it wasn't structural or to do with the program. So I think that speaks volumes to it, that it's actually a.
Are we gonna have
good
these
system.
sessions where we decide to have prior?
Yes, like we're gonna have one Thursday, right? We're gonna get we're gonna get one scheduled for
This coming
Thursday,
Thursday.
this coming Thursday, instead of, unless we need something else for the budget hearing, instead of that, we're gonna start with that.
Okay.
So we're gonna have that presentation, and I was trying to do it outside to make it easier for people to access the building and, especially.
Well, and there's a bar, you know.
Right, so I was hoping, but we gotta work that out with the Elks and see if we can get that happen. So we just didn't have enough time today by the time we found this. So I may just throw back one more question for you, because this affects the budget, and this is probably the most important question. So I kind of explained to you the, I gotta get this right, I can't say tier, I gotta
It's
say.
Plan 1 and
Plan 1 and Plan 4. Again, the difference between Plan 1 and Plan 4 is $37.63 per person, which equates to about $72,000, which ironically equates to about a 1% tax levy. So if you wanted to make the plan, and the only reason I looked at Plan 4 is the county is looking at Plan 4, and it is a little bit better plan than Plan 1, and I don't wanna get accused that we're not gonna do as good as what the county is, so it made sense. And they're actually having an educational seminar right now on that exact Plan 4, and they have another one tomorrow online. But it made sense to me once when I got the side-by-side comparison, looking at Plan 1 and Plan 4, we had Plan 1 makes sense, common sense approach makes sense, but to sweeten it better, to say, look, you can give them dental and vision, you give them $500 to do that. I was talking to one of the retirees today, and, they're spending about $450 for 2 times a year for the cleaning, and him and his wife, and that would cover, this dental would cover that. So again, that's another $500 savings that they would benefit from. And then the vision is, use it or not, $300 better than nothing. And then just the co-pays alone, we would say that $37.63, if somebody's in the $40 column, we save that as a total in 1 month, you know what I mean? So that would, that's something to think about. So I guess in that aspect, unless we come up with other areas, we'd have to cut in the budget. So that is something I wanted to volley across there, or we can just leave it as budgeted was for the, not tier,
Plan 1.
Plan 1, sorry.
So, and just so you didn't realize, we initially asked for something that was equal to what we had offered with the MS3, and that's when they had recommended Plan 1. It was the closest. Plan 4 is a step up from that. It offers more than what we had been offering, and it covers more than what the Classic Blue currently covers. So this would be a step up. It would be a cost to the city of roughly $72,000 a year. We had looked at that initially, so I hadn't budgeted that initially, but I can make that adjustment if you think that would be better for the sake of the retirees. So that's that. We wanted to have that discussion here because I'll have to go back. Unfortunately, because of the timing of everything, if we want to do that, I need to give them an answer. So again,
Well, we have a little time left, not a lot.
Yeah, but I think it's something we really want to think about, but we really need to make those presentations, and I really want to try to get those presentations to what it is. And I know Billy, I just want to make sure everybody's disclosed, Billy, it's a conflict for Billy. So, straight out, but certainly we value all that opinion, and the retirees, and you're working with them, and I think, I spoke with one of them today who's been on that post. I assume you're on that post too.
Yeah.
So it seems, relatively.
What did the county do for under 65? What plan do they have for under 65?
they're self-insured, and I don't.
It's
different.
Yeah, it's.
They don't go through the consortium.
So why not go to the platinum plan instead of the bronze plan?
The bronze is actually better with the fully funded HRA.
Okay.
If you don't fund the HRA, it's not as good.
Doesn't make
Right,
sense.
but if you do, it's much better.
And it's much better, and it's more expensive for everybody, especially there. So, like, to me, funding the HRA gives the advantage, because that extra cost, if you don't use it, we win, right? So sometimes we're
But if
getting
you
to
need
there,
it,
but if you
it's
need
there.
it, it's there, and you're getting better. We gotta give you back equal to or better, so that's really
It's
good.
just, it's, PBA voted on this, and that's what they do. When it comes to, down the road, all of a sudden, a council comes in and says, guess what, you're gonna take that $21,000 deductible, and now you're gonna eat that.
They
Equal to or
can't,
better
equal or
than.
better. They would
Equal to or
have,
better than, Billy. I'm not trying to not dissuade paranoia in some aspects, but equal to or better than. I don't know how you could ever lose that.
Yeah,
I don't know how anybody could win a case that this isn't equal to or better than, because we're putting a surety behind it, that if anything is not covered, you bring those papers in, and we'll cover it. And you'll pass a resolution, or we'll be proposing a resolution, that I would hope that you would pass to put your money where the mouth is to back this up. I mean, that's the only way we could ever accept it.
And that would continue to be like the 10,000
Once it's set
and the
as precedent as
21,000.
equal or better, then it's set.
Yep.
And that's the thing that has to be honored.
So
going
I guess you
forward.
have to decide if you don't wanna do this, this increase or this, make this plan even that much better, I mean, that's
I
a
would
consequence.
say the retirees would want the better plan for the extra.
I think it's worth doing personally.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would like to
But
have the
you-
opportunity to
but
figure that
just
budget out.
understand, you're setting a precedent, that
Yes.
that's gonna be what it's gonna be forever. I just wanna make sure that's
Yeah,
understood.
that's-
It would likely change the 4%
And
property.
I'm for it, and
versus
that's why I told them, do the paperwork for that, let's hold that, if everybody agrees to it, and move it to that, start the education process, and then move it forward.
So when's the notice going out about Thursday? When these guys-
I was hoping to announce it tonight, and then I was gonna text everybody, I was hoping to get a whole timeline of sheets, so tomorrow, right? Can we get that done tomorrow? Somebody? Yeah.
Get it out to
Yeah.
everybody.
Dan, can you get Teresa to respond by tomorrow? That'll get you with the date, I don't know what. Thir- I
30th.
want 2 days a week, I want 2 days a week, I want Thursday, and then 2 days a
9 o'clock at
week.
night, Brunel.
I wanna do 10 o'clock and 6 o'clock. 10 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock at night,
On Thursday.
Thursday, and then again, next week, pick 2 days, your pick, except for Tuesday. Okay.
We might wanna push it to next week, because I doubt if Excel is gonna be able to run the books for us in 24 hours.
Yeah, no, we probably can't get
I think I can, I'll push it. I'm gonna check anyway, Dan.
it. Okay.
When is the vote for the budget?
If we need to, I can stand up there with papers.
Andy, you have the timeline for the
Yeah.
budget in front of you?
Correct.
Like to vote for it.
What's the timeline?
For consensus, then,
first.
so everybody's done the little bit higher.
Yeah.
So our schedule,
Oh, you get it.
as our schedule's laid out currently, we've got this Thursday, another budget session, then November 4th, Tuesday, presumably the proposed, any modifications that the council makes to this budget would be filed as the proposed budget on the 4th, but that's not absolute, it doesn't have to happen then. We'll set public hearings on the proposed budget and tax cap. Then 2 weeks later, council meet the 18th, have public hearings on the proposed budget and on the tax cap, adopt the tax cap local law. And then 2 weeks later, December 2nd, council would meet to adopt the final budget. However, it doesn't have to. The council meets again on the 16th, and we did kind of plug in that contingency, if more time was needed, to adopt the budget on the 16th.
18.
I'm,
Right?
Statutorily, it has
Six.
to be by the 20th.
16th is our meeting dates, and then our final date for adoption by the charter is the 20th. So we can move the dates that you see laid out there that I provided previously. We can move things forward 2 weeks.
Sunday.
So realistically, we only got 4 meetings to get this done,
He's talking December.
unless we have to have a special.
Well, 4 regularly scheduled
Right,
meetings,
that's what I'm saying.
but, you know, those are 2 weeks apart. We can always schedule more.
So,
It has to be done by the 20th of December.
So should we look at next Tuesday as not a council meeting, but a meeting at, hopefully at the Elks? Or do we want to keep that meeting
I don't
before?
know, I think we have it already noticed, I don't know what we have on the agenda, but we still have to set a public hearing, right?
You might not get too many
Yeah.
people on election night
Right.
at the Elks.
True. So do the 5th and the 6th for educational pieces. If we don't need the budget session for the council meeting, do we have anything on the agenda? I'm just so busy.
I think we could make the meeting on the 4th a very brief one, where we would set public hearings, and we don't actually have to adopt a resolution, to
Right,
set a
so we have
public
to set a
hearing,
public
but
hearing. We have to do that.
We have
we-
a couple of minor resolutions for some gifts and a
So we'll
budget
do a quick
bond.
meeting on
We
the
could-
4th, but the education won't be then, because it's election night, I'd rather
True.
not do that. So I'd rather set education to the 5th and the 6th, if Dan can make that happen. And then the whole week, any day of the week of the 11th, 12th, 13th, so we can get those educations out, and then we can do our 18th would be our public hearing. or, yes. What, the eighteenth?
No.
We're gonna do
No,
ten
to
and,
do five. Oh,
I'd like
10
to do
and
10 and
6,
6, and they'll be all virtual, then now, we just need to set up wherever we're gonna be to do that.
And we built in here an extra 2-week period from the time of the public hearing on the proposed budget. Have that public hearing 2 weeks later, schedule the council to vote on it. And then we've got an extra 2 weeks after what we've scheduled there. So there's plenty of cushion time in there.
Scan this. Jade. All right, anybody else have any other questions? Everybody okay with that timeline? So we'll validate those times, so there'll be 2 times next week and 2 times the week after. And they'll be all available by Zoom and real, in person. Questions will be answered and taped. They'll also videotape one of them, and then that'll be available for online reading and viewing. Not necessarily everybody have to be there, but I think it's helpful if everybody is understanding of it, so you get that, get those concerns out. I feel really comfortable, and I know, because we put a blanket coverage over the whole thing. So there's just, I don't know where the concern could be. I think it's, I equate this, when I talked the other day, to the seatbelt law. At some point, people, they just created a law. Some people still don't think this seatbelt would keep you safe. But as the police officers will tell you, anybody's cleaned up that had an accident or incident, it's not ever as good. So I think this gets that coverage to where we need to be.
Change is scary.
Change is scary. But anybody else have anything else? So we will not have a budget hearing. We don't need to have a budget hearing again Tuesday's meeting? Just a meeting.
Thursday, so
Or
we're,
Thursday, yeah.
so we're gonna cancel Thursday.
We don't, unless anybody needs
Cancel
anything,
Thursday.
we'll cancel Thursday. And then,
Tuesday.
Tuesday, we'll set the public hearing, have regular agenda. Any questions that comes up about this, certainly, email Randall and Beth and myself, and we'll get answers to whatever we can. And again, try to put something up on our web to, get those education pieces started.
Could you put it on your Facebook?
I will. And also, I know the county has one online tomorrow.
It's a little different.
Is it?
They're doing things a little
Okay,
differently, so
so
I.
don't go there.
No.
Yeah, I just don't want
Different
to
brokers
confuse
did.
anyone.
Shut up
while you're at it.
Guys,
Don't want to confuse anyone.
county doesn't want, no, just kidding.
Sorry.
One other thing I just thought I'd add up for as far as the budget, and I don't know what it makes of those adjustments, but Coralville looks like they're gonna vote out our $80,000.
That's Andrea texted me, I'll have to make that adjustment as well.
But, so we were planning on doing some things with that, so, I think it's short-sighted, and I'm disappointed in, that case that they would leave out children, so tomorrow, they're gonna work on a fee structure, so it's very likely, and this is not retaliatory, but it's a real life item. They kept McGraw, funding McGraw, they cut Homer, and Homer was doing about 40,000 for 250 kids. We're doing 80,000 for 2,200 kids. So that was really kind of a cheap thing to be able to help. But I look at this weekend, just so everybody knows, anybody who went to Trunk or Treat, we had 5,000 people there this weekend, 5,000. At one point, because we measured, the street was full, we measured it, counted footage and did all that. So not everybody voted, but it was a great turnout. And I see people from Cortlandville there, including the head of Cortlandville, and enjoying that event and doing that event. And there's a lot of people from the rural areas that say, I don't get to see trick or treated, to see these kids dressed up. So people, I know Dana saw it, a lot of it too. He saw a lot of chicken. He was volunteering to do that. I know Tom was there. I saw Tom down there. But I think, they got to see the kids, and it was such an awesome thing. And it's such a great thing. But if you think about how many people were actually from the city as compared to the overall, and I think everything we do, whether it's New Year's Eve, whether it's the trunk or treat or pumpkin, whatever the cases are, I think we probably are going to fall suit to what our population is, and 60% are the city and 40% are outside the city. So everything we do kind of is for the whole thing. And I hate to do territorial boundaries because I think it's not good for our community. Because where does Cortlandville start? Most people don't know. There's streets, literally, my street, you drive up my street, across the street's Cortlandville, and I'm not. So, and it's a dead-end street. It doesn't make sense. But the point is that, I hate to create that, but it's gonna force us to, when they go to the pool, to say, oh, you gotta pay an outside fee. It's when they sign up for events, like First Responders Day is a very coveted thing. It's not first come, first, you know, we have to separate out, which maybe the argument would be we should have been all one. We have to separate and say, we'll let you know if you can come in. If we don't have enough, if we don't fill it with city, then we'll let you come in, first come, first served there. To me, that's gonna upset people, it's gonna frustrate them, but,
They can talk to their,
but they can talk to their electeds
Right.
because and again, some of it's because of sales tax and whatever the case might be. They do have budgets they're trying to constrain. I respect that, but I also respect that we need to keep our youth outside and keep them active. And, I think that's a bad way and not investment unless you have another program. Housing outside baseball teams is not the same as housing our own kids. So we need to recognize that. I appreciate that too, that's helpful for us. So with that disdain, I'll move on and say that we'll make adjustments to modify what our expenditures are and expenses are to make that happen, rather than create sales tax increase.
okay.
Any questions? All right, motion to adjourn. Oh, we don't have to.
No, we don't have to.
It's,
We're good.
We're done.
Thank you.
Okay, Pat, you don't have to thank me.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
right.
Of course.
But we'll tell thanks though. You want us to drop them off?
Oh, you want me to just deliver them to everybody? Okay.